ඕනෑම යුද ගැටුමක් කිසිදු ජන කණ්ඩායමකට හිතකර තත්ත්වයක් නිර්මාණය කරන්නේ නැහැ.
War does not create a healthy environment for any people group. Therefore, the Sri Lankan government's position is that global conflicts must be resolved swiftly in order to achieve lasting peace for all parties involved. It is true that the people of our country are experiencing a certain level of anxiety. There is no purpose in blaming them for this reaction. Unpleasant memories from the not-so-distant past still linger in the hearts of our people. More than just an unpleasant chapter, it was a tragedy that the country endured only 2 to 3 years ago. As a result, our society is understandably sensitive and can become alarmed even by small developments. We fully understand this sentiment. As a government, we have been closely monitoring all recent developments. The Central Bank of Sri Lanka has reviewed the current situation and will submit a comprehensive report to me this evening or tomorrow morning, outlining the potential impact on the country. This will give us a clearer understanding of the possible effects on the monetary sector. In addition, the Ministry of Finance is assessing how the present situation may affect the day-to-day lives of our people. We are also preparing an analysis based on a worst-case scenario. Furthermore, the Sri Lanka Bureau of Foreign Employment and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs are working together to develop a plan to address any challenges that expatriate Sri Lankans may face. As a government, we take full responsibility for ensuring that Sri Lankans, particularly those engaged in essential services, are protected and supported. Let me address the potential issues one by one. One key concern is fuel. According to the reports I have received, fuel queues have gradually reduced over time. I believe that if we continue to reassure the public, these queues will continue to diminish. The primary challenge we face relates to storage capacity. We currently do not have the capacity to store fuel for 2 to 3 months. Therefore, our system operates in a way where as the next shipment arrives in the country, existing stocks must be in the process of being emptied. We cannot maintain full storage capacity at all times. If we set aside the IOC terminal in Trincomalee, the combined storage capacity of the Kolonava and Muthurajavala terminals is only 150,000 metric tons. Current stocks amount to approximately 103,000 metric tons. In addition, our daily refinery production amounts to 1,800 metric tons. Therefore, we must also allocate storage space for the output produced by the refinery. Considering these limitations, I believe we have been operating under a sound and practical storage plan based on the capacity available to us. Accordingly, we currently have sufficient diesel stocks for 33 days. With regard to petrol, our total storage capacity is 161,087 metric tons, and at the time this crisis began, 136,270 metric tons were available. Based on current consumption levels, this quantity is sufficient for 27 days. Furthermore, we are scheduled to receive a 35,000 metric ton petrol shipment on the 7th or 8th of March. Taking all these factors into account, I believe we have adequate petrol stocks for approximately 40 days. In terms of jet fuel, the daily requirement is about 1,800 metric tons. Considering both local production and imports, we have sufficient jet fuel stocks for 49 days, assuming no additional shipments are received. However, we currently have several shipments scheduled. A shipment from RM Parks is expected on the 14th, from Sinopec on the 17th, from IOC on the 21st, and from the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation on the 28th. All of these shipments have been loaded and we have confirmation regarding their dispatch and supply. Moreover, crude oil is essential for refinery operations. The crude oil currently available is sufficient for 26 days. In addition, another shipment sufficient for 18 days is already on its way to Sri Lanka. Therefore, even if no further shipments arrive, our refinery can continue operations for 44 days. Given the arrangements already in place, the scheduled shipments will arrive accordingly and there should be no fuel shortage under the present circumstances. However, if the war escalates, all of us will inevitably have to face consequences. If refineries were to shut down globally, there would be little we could do to prevent the impact. Realistically, as long as the situation remains at its current level, we have clear plans and solutions in place. It is not within our control to determine whether this issue escalates. Our responsibility as a government is to monitor developments closely and make the necessary adjustments in response to how the situation evolves.
ඊළඟ විශේෂම ගත්තොත් තෙල් පිරිපාදු.
Sri Lanka's total refinery capacity remained at 50,000 metric tons for 47 years since 1979. What were those governments doing? We have called for expressions of interest to increase the capacity from 50,000 to 100,000 metric tons. The next major issue is gas. The daily demand for literal gas is between 1,000 and 1,200 metric tons, yet our storage capacity is only 8,000 metric tons, which is only sufficient for a week. As a result, shipments are arriving in the country every 2 days. This situation must be changed. Recently, due to disruptions to the private company's supply, daily demand for literal gas increased to 1,800 metric tons. The problem is clear. Currently, we cannot even store gas sufficient for 5 days. The state gas supplier's storage capacity must be expanded. Meanwhile, a private company owns a 30,000 metric ton storage terminal, but this facility was built for the export market. In this emergency, we held discussions with the company and requested temporary access to 15,000 metric tons of storage for the local market. I am grateful that they agreed. However, since the terminals were constructed under the BOI, if gas is supplied to the local market, the required taxes must be paid. This company is only allowed to supply 20% of its export volume to the local market. However, when the export market collapsed, supply to the local market also stalled. That is why I decided to once again declare a state of emergency. Through special regulations, we can temporarily authorize the supply of gas to the local market with all taxes properly accounted for. There is no fraud involved. Additionally, a shipment of 100,000 units of literal gas is scheduled to arrive in the country on the 12th. With these measures in place, I believe the risk of a serious crisis in the fuel and gas sector is limited. Next is the safety of Sri Lankans working abroad. Approximately 1 million Sri Lankans registered with the Bureau of Foreign Employment are working in countries affected by the war. We must ensure their safety in the event of an emergency. Accordingly, we have developed a plan with their protection in mind. Looking ahead, we must also consider potential future challenges. The export sector may be affected in 2 ways. First, directly due to the impact of war in the affected region, and second, due to the broader effects of a global economic downturn. We are carefully monitoring these risks as well. We hope for the best, but are preparing for the worst.
නරකම දේට සූදානම් වෙනවා.